mom and dad. As you can see, he led a very sheltered life. Things were tough in his day. That was their food pantry. That was all they had to live on. You know, I don't know how many of you knew that Albert was a horseback rider. And he rode horse and rode horse and rode horse. He rode that horse so hard. That was all that was left. Well, now it came to St. Croix County. St. Croix County is noted for extremely good dairy cattle and dairy barns. They're clean. The walk is clean. The platform is clean. Freestall operations are beautiful, well bedded, and so forth. This was prior to the time Al came. After a few years of instruction under Albert, here's what happened to some of the farms. Well, that was after a class in dairy management, but he said, you know, if you guys really want to get milk out of your cows, you keep them in the barn 12 months of the year so they're on exactly the same feed. But he had a foot problem. Well, just talking to Sheldon Simonson, he said he's from the Glenwood City country. You know, there's really nice rolly ground over there and beautiful crops. See that nice golden oats? Well, Al says when that oats is nice and golden, don't combine right away. Go fishing for a week. And the guy went fishing for a week, and another week went by before he got around to combine. He wanted to get that oat nice and dry. Well, the guy that put her in the swath, he left her there a little while also, but the swath got a little out of hand. Well, alfalfa. Al has thought an awful lot about alfalfa, and he's just happier than a lark to see a farmer with a stand like this. Just beautiful, thick, luscious alfalfa. And if you guys want to save money, you keep that ground in alfalfa. You fertilize it well, you manage it well, and it'll be there for years and years and years and years, and it's still there. Once you do get that beautiful stand, you got to harvest it properly. But some guys are a little short of feed, and so they thought that, well, we'll try. But you know, Al is a record man. He talks farm management a lot, and he talks farm accounting. And he says, farmers, you got to register, put in the ledger every single week what you do. And if you don't do it every week, you got to do it every month. Well, some of the guys got so entangled in what Albert was teaching about farm records, they forgot all about making hay. So finally they got around to make some first crop. Sometimes the corn is beautiful, sometimes it's disaster. It all depends upon what your educator told you. Beautiful weed control here prior to the time Al came to St. Croix County after some of his farmers took his crop course. Beautiful crop of corn in the fall. There's nothing better to see than a good crop of corn. And Al says to save $1, you leave that corn stand out there and it'll dry down. Mother Nature will take that point a day off from her, and you don't have to worry about it. And so they didn't worry about it, and some didn't get her off in time. Well, he talks a lot about weed control and chemicals and pesticides and everything like that, but he forgot one thing, and that was safe use of pesticides. Sometimes I really am sincere about this. I hate to show this slide. I really do. But it's fact. It did happen. It did not happen, of course, in St. Croix County. But I just have to mention a word about this. If you notice in the upper left-hand corner is a cornfield, and a farmer did leave the cornfield with his corn planter and the insecticide. I do not know what insecticide this was. Dribbled out along the road, the field road here, and tipped over about 14 cows. It was disastrous. Well, I don't know. Sam and Bud, I guess they're both right here. You know these guys are in the hog business. Have you heard about the new boar they just bought? This boar is fantastic. They paid an awful lot of money for this one. A lot of stretch on it. They needed some hype on their boars. And you know, these guys, they try to make a buck out of everything they do. And when they have a sow that doesn't have milk, they found the remedy. It works. Milk is milk. Well, now back to a little bit. I just had to throw those couple in here for these two boys. Al Franko, you know, Al has been around a long time. I don't know how long he's been here, but I'll tell you what, this was his first farm management, his first farm machinery class. His first farm machinery class when he came to St. Croix County. And even here was his first building class. I don't know if this really dates Al or not, but he's known, as I said earlier, about the old record man across the country, and so the farmers got so involved in records, and he got involved in records, so he quit teaching anything and everything else. You know, when he quit teaching machinery is when this was popular. But wait a minute. I spoofed it a little bit. This was his last class when he told the farmer how to adjust the combine to save oats. Well, now that he's kind of settled down and he loves to garden. And he says, I got to make $1 wherever I can make $1 in gardening. How profitable is that, Al? Good stuff. Well, Al is sitting down now looking at old Jeannie. And old Jeannie says, what in the world are we going to do now, Eleanor, for the future? He says, you know, I was born in that and lived in that not so productive and popular house. He says, I think maybe, oh, sorry about that, Brooks. I'm one step ahead of me here. Sam says, and Bud, they said, do you remember every slide in order? And I says, I think I do, but I just didn't. I got to backtrack a little bit. Al's, all his years of farm training, accounts and records, and he's talked to hundreds and hundreds of people, and he's counseled with you about finance, farm partnerships and corporations and the like of this. And he knew that after he retired, that he would still be getting questions and questions and questions. And he knew that he couldn't take them, and so as soon as he retired, the day he retired, he ordered from the motor vehicle department a new license plate. What was going on there? Sorry about that. New license plate. It says, why farm? That would answer his question. Okay. Now, Al says, I think I want to go back and live the way I used to live when I was born in that hut. And Eleanor, you're going to have to dry the clothes. And Eleanor, you're going to have to dry the bread and the fruit and everything like that. That's the only way I'm going to be able to survive. But he says, you know, I really want to farm. And I spotted a farm the other day I think I'd really like to buy. No, she says, I don't think you should buy that. Well, he says, I don't know. I think there's another opportunity. I was driving down the road, and it wouldn't take me too much to fix this one up to milk cows at. But she says, no way under thunder am I going to milk, or are you going to milk cows? Am I going to live in this particular place? And so he says, well, I'll tell you what, let's make a deal. If I can milk cows and on this farm, I'll build you a new house. And so he built her a brand new house, and here's where Al and Eleanor are going to live happily ever after. Thank you.
see you all here tonight, I can't help but think of the story, It's a Wonderful Life, who stars Jimmy Stewart. I'm sure many of you have seen that program on television. It's a story about the impact that one man has had on a town and its people, and how different things would have been had he never been born. We'd like to take a look at the wonderful life of my dad, Al Franko, and the many hats he's worn as he's touched all our lives tonight. We're going to kind of go through it as we go here.
Al was born in Lake, Wisconsin on September 22nd, 1924. Carolyn and Bill Franko. His mother always said that he was a good, but curious, and sometimes mischievous little boy. He started his vocational training early, playing with his brothers and sisters and hiding in his favorite spot, the chicken coop. Peter's love of animals and ability to communicate with bird brains developed. We wondered if maybe that's why he could get along with all those IRS guys somehow. Although Al can't have chickens now that he lives in town, maybe this little fellow will help keep him company. Al was also a very careful little boy, remembering to lock the door when he was in the house alone. But I don't think his mother meant at the time that he locked her out and redecorated the whole kitchen with butter. And being from a poor family, Al was always to take care of his belongings. But when he tried to dry his one and only pair of rubber boots in the oven, how did he know that they'd end up just the right size? So much for Al's career as a chef. As Al grew, so did his financial needs. So he began setting pins in the Titan bowling alley. But when that didn't seem exciting, summer to Kalispell, Montana, to work on a cattle ranch. Al also provided entertainment for many in his youth through his great musical ability as lead tuba player in a dance band, and as well in the Clayton Bears High School marching band. He continued to pursue his musical career by attending River Falls Teachers College on a tuba scholarship in 1942. Now, Dad, with all your spare time, we thought you might like to revive your interest in music on an instrument a little smaller and easier to handle than a tuba. In the spring of 1943, Al went to the aid of his country by joining the Army and serving in the 91st Infantry Division in Italy. His selfless caring was heroically displayed when he entered a minefield. During battle to save a friend, Jim Marcini. The citation, if any of you haven't seen it, is up on the wall. But of course, when Al cites this action, he always sees that his service is one that just any person would have done. When Al returned from the war in the fall of 1945, he worked at the Stella Cheese Factory in Clayton, but once again realized this was not the career for him, so he returned to college. At River Falls, he affected many lives, especially as the manager of Ma Journey's Club, providing meals for college students. He also found time to continue his career in bowling pin setting, to realize there wasn't much future there, so he went back to farm work in his spare time, which provides a lot of stories in and of itself. Especially significant, the one about the time Al's life almost came to an end. He and a buddy were throwing down silage, a chute, which plugged up, filled to the top, and trapped them in the silo. But using a little ingenuity, they obviously managed to get out because Al's here. But in case, Dad, you're ever in a situation like that, maybe you better keep this handy. Al was not all work and no play. He provided endless hours of entertainment to see the spectators at the college baseball games of River Falls Falcons, and later to those who followed the fabulous pitching career of Curly Franko and the River Falls Indians. Another diversion of Al's during the his years in River Falls was a cute young city girl, Eleanor Weiser, who he courted and then married on June 10th, 1948. After a romantic honeymoon on Yellow Lake, their years of wedded bliss began. But what we're wondering is, did he really know about the donuts back then? After graduation, Al worked at the kind of job he always liked best, people and agriculture. And as a veterans farm trainer in New Richmond, and living on their farm in Star Prairie, even though it wasn't elegant, it was full of love and his growing family. Now 3, Jerry, Diane, and Billy. In June of 1952, Al had the chance to advance his career by going back to River Falls as a loan officer for PCA. His salary grew, and so did his family, Donna. But his love of the land brought him back to the farm, and in 1956, he bought the Van Karen farm in Erin Prairie. And again, as the crops blossomed, so did Eleanor. Al always seemed to have time for work, and his family remaining calm and patient, even in the trials of parenting. Such as the time when Bill, 8 years old, decided to park the John Deere 50 in the shed. Whipping in high gear, his 8-year-old muscles weren't quite strong enough to pull the clutch. So the rear end remained caught on a beam in the shed, while the front end exited the shed's east wall, right next to Al. Their family always worked and played hard together at the numerous family get-togethers. But the child labor could get expensive, like the time when Earl Jacobs' truck just happened to lose a door upon entry into the barn. And Al will be happy to explain that a bit. Well, with the expenses like that, Al needed additional income besides the farm, so went to work for Rural Mutual Insurance, quickly climbing the ladder to agency manager. As he invested in and protected their future, he also invested in his own with the purchase of thousands of company envelopes, which Eleanor recently informed me are finally gone after 20 years. So here's a few more to keep you going, keep in touch with your clients. Al's love of animals has always been number one, whether caring for the cattle on his farm or managing the Fire Eyes and Hog Farm in Clayton. Right, Sam? Lilac. Oh, okay. I haven't lived here before. Okay? Well, we have kind of a little fella here that can kind of look down on Dad and remind him of his exciting and odor-rich days at Hog Farm. In 1964, Al returned to PCA for a 2-year stint. But his real opportunity came in the fall of 1966 when he was hired as the New Richmond School's adult ag instructor. Here he had the opportunity to share the skills and knowledge for which we all know him so well. And when the Wisconsin Indian Head Technical Institute was opened in the fall of 1968, Al was the perfect choice to head up, or be, the whole farm training program. Although very busy, Al still made time for church and family. Now there were 7, Susie and Mary Ann. As Al spent countless hours throughout the area teaching night classes, there only seemed to be one persistent obstacle: finding the janitor with the key. The area administrators at their last meeting concluded that in honor of your thousands of hours of teaching night classes and never complaining, you have been awarded the honorary skeleton key, guaranteed to open any classroom within a 100-mile radius. Another highlight of Al's classes was the relaxed atmosphere. We have received a special thank you gift from a well-known businessman in Central America who owes a great deal of his success to you. From the private stock of Juan Valdez, we have this token of his appreciation for the gallons and gallons of coffee consumed by you and your associates. But what is coffee without a little treat? We aren't sure how many of Al's students really would have been so devoted to class had Eleanor not provided her hundreds of dozens of donuts over the past 21 years. And in honor of your great achievement and contribution to ag education, we are proud to bestow upon you Eleanor Franko wives who are noting withdrawal symptoms by their husbands will oppose them. Probably Al's most notable contribution to the farmers in the area has been his tax expertise. It's hard to imagine the tons of paperwork and tax returns he's filed and refiled.
You say you left off the depreciation list on that form. Well, we'll just fill out another one, I guess.
And of course, patience endures, and he refiled.
You say you found another shoebox, huh?
And record keeping at its height again. With the IRS, he refiled.
Another shoebox? Oh, we'll just file it again.
With shoeboxes and lunch bags full of receipts, as well as going to our defense with creditors, auditors, and judges. Who could forget how he's touched our lives?
Although it's impossible to count the number of lives that have been touched and benefited by my dad, I'm really proud to say that no matter how short he is, he really measures up to myself and my family, and I think he does to all of you too. So, a ruler that says, "You're the best, I love you, Dad." I'd like to thank you all for your attention on this whole thing. It was just something that my wife and I put together the past few days, and I just got one more thing to say before I turn the mic back over to Sam. I know that Sam and Bud really put a lot of work into this party, and really like to thank them for that. And I know they won't take anything for the food, but I think considering the letter that Sam got, which was something he kind of counted on to help pay for the band tonight, and I'm going to read it to you. Some of you probably noticed it when you came in, but I think considering this letter, we'll maybe want to pass the hat a little bit later to get a little extra money. But anyway, this came from Playgirl magazine, and it says Centerfold Division, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It says, "Dear Sam, your name has been submitted to us along with your photo, and I regret to inform you that we will be unable to use your body in our centerfold. On a scale of 0 to 10, your body was rated -2 by our panel of women in age from 60 to 74 years old. We tried to assemble a panel of women in the age bracket of 25 to 35, but we could not get them to stop laughing while we reached a decision. It does not appear possible that the taste of American women will ever change so drastically that bodies such as yours would be appropriate for our centerfold. Therefore, with your permission, we shall retain a copy of your photograph to use it as a cartoon." So I guess he isn't going to get any money out of this, so all of you be generous when that hat goes around. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Bill. Where did you find that? Thank you for that presentation. That was a dandy. And Gary, thank you for yours. That's the end of the official program. Now, if anybody's got anything they'd like to say about Al, any dirt on him or anything like that, now's the time to bring it out. Anybody got anything? Wally Melberg have anything to say?
Here we go.
Al and I went to college together at River Falls. We played baseball together for the college and also organized a summer team one summer to play anybody under the lights, anywhere, or on any night of the week or day. And the rules were that the winning team would get 75% of the gate and the losers would get 25%. We played 22 games, and that included, it was all made up of college players. And we played New Richmond many times. We played teams from the cities. We played Red Wing, Ellsworth, anyone who would play us. I think the 75% Al went for beer money, wasn't it? There's one other thing I recall very vividly, and I'm sure Eleanor does too. Al had a very, very favorite song when we went to school. And if he had $1 in his pocket and we ended up down at the Green Lantern, he would take 10 cents of that and buy a glass of beer and put the other 90 cents in the jukebox and play Just Because. I don't know if you've heard that song, but as far as I could gather the words in memory, I did write them down, and I'm sure that Al knows them by heart. There were times he played it as many as 12, 15 times a night. Just because you think you're so pretty, just because you think you're so hot, nobody else, just because you think you've got something nobody else has got. You made me spend all my money and you dressed up like old Santa Claus. Well, baby, I'm telling you, I'm through with you, because, just because.
Thank you, Wally. That was nice of you to come up and do that. And I'm sure you got some dirt on them, but you're just not spitting it out. We kind of tallied up the amount of money that you people gave when you came in here. And I think we got enough money to send them someplace. I'm not just sure where, but about $1,500. 20 minutes ago. And I do want to say too, I noticed that Bill said that we love you, Dad. And I want Al to know that the rest of us love him too. I'm temporarily done. You can talk now.
Well, I don't know what all to say, but some of those things I didn't remember. I think some of those things are made up a little bit. But I guess most of it's true. And when I quit here last fall, I retired the 1st of November as far as the school is concerned. I am retired working. But when I did, I thought I could just kind of fade away and get out of things a little bit and not have any parties or anything like that. But I guess if we're going to have one, why, this is the kind I'd want to have. Yeah. As far as we're concerned, and Sam and Bud and Connie and Renee too, this is a party for all of you people as well as for me. And that's the way I kind of like to have it be. Just taking up a collection out there, I guess, and I guess we'll take that, and they said we got to use it for a vacation or a trip or something. Well, I suppose we'll do that, but income tax. No, you don't have to report little gifts like that. It's not a deduction for you guys either. But anyway, I know that a lot of you don't get vacations very often, or ever, probably a lot of you either. We'll feel kind of guilty, I guess, in that sense. I guess one thing I wanted to say, you heard some of my life, I guess, and I did all kinds of goofy things and stuff too. But when I got out of high school, like most of the kids that get out of high school, I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do. And there were a couple of people that have probably directed my life that ended up this way with you people. Yeah. A little closer. And a couple of people that probably affected it more than most people did outside of my family and so forth. But those two people were both ag teachers. And one of them was the ag teacher I had in high school, only had him 1 year, I think, old Sparky Selquist. I don't think anybody here knows him. Sparky wasn't much of a teacher in the ag group, but he did a lot of other things. We did a lot of field trips and a lot of work out on the farms and things like that. But he was a doer. And when I got out of school, he thought I should go to college. And he didn't just think that. He hauled me down there and he registered me down there. And otherwise, I don't know if I'd ever gone there or not. And the other one is Bob Heaving. And you heard a little bit about my life here. And Bob Heaving and I worked together in farm training starting 1949. In fact, it was March 4th, 1949 that I started teaching in New Richmond. And that's 40 years ago, I guess, tonight, or today. But Bob was the other farm training instructor at that time, and a few years later he took over the high school ag department. And in those days, the ag teacher took care of the adult night classes. And Bob thought that there was a need for more adult farmer training or farm training than what could be handled by an ag teacher, and just the nights that he had classes and the few visits that he could make out on the farms and so forth. So Bob went to work and convinced the school board in New Richmond that a full-time farm training program was probably in the best interest of the district and the farmer. And so he got that started. He asked me to apply for the job, and I didn't. And another instructor was hired. He stayed a year and he left, and Bob encouraged me then to apply it again. And I did, but I had the farm, and the school board said that they wouldn't give me the job if I kept the farm. Well, so that went by the board. The next year, that instructor left, and Bob encouraged me again, and I did get the job and worked for the New Richmond School District then for the next couple of years until the vocational district was formed. And the farm training program was the first full-time program then for the vocational district when that was formed. It was an adult program, and automatically all adult programs came under the vocational system. And so that's how I ended up doing what I'm doing, I guess, and working with you people. Gary mentioned a lot about records, and I guess there's a couple of things that I tried to do over the years, and one of them was to encourage good records. And a lot of the early years where a lot of time was spent on trying to get you to keep good records, and all of your records are not the kind of records that Bill was talking about, the shoebox ones and so forth. When I go out and do taxes with you guys now, generally things are in pretty good shape. And you don't find many shoeboxes around. Consistently, since 1965, we had more people in this area on computerized farm record programs, both Agrifax and that's PCA, and the DHIA records than any other area in the state. All the years since that time we have had, and I think that's probably because we did spend a lot of time on it. Then the other thing, because we're so limited as to the amount of time that we could work with you. 12 hours of on-the-farm instruction is what we're allotted a year, and 30 hours of class. It's a very small amount of time, and it's difficult to teach any great amount of things. So one of the things I tried to do is work closely with the agencies, the other agencies in the county, the Extension Service, ASCS, SES, FHA, DHIA, and encourage you to use the services of those people, and the feed dealers, the veterinarians, because a lot of the services that they have are things that are ongoing kinds of things and that you need. And I want to thank those people. I don't know if there's any of those people here tonight or not, but I do want to thank those people for the help that they did give over the years, and the help that they've continued to give. And St. Croix County has a lot of good services, and you people can be glad to have that. And St. Croix County's been one of the top counties in the state in a lot of things. You probably don't realize it. Milk production per cow in St. Croix County the last 3 years has been, St. Croix County's either been first or second in the state in milk production. At one time, I had every guy that I had in class was on DHIA. I couldn't say that the last few years, but at one time, everyone was on DHIA, and those kinds of things. So that was one of the other things that I tried to get you to do. And most of you think I just did taxes, I guess. And even Ronald Reagan heard about that. I did get a letter from Ronald Reagan here just when I retired. He was still president at that time. And I guess I'll just read that. Service. Nancy, however, reminded me of 4 reasons that you should not get the job. First, you know all the tax loopholes. My administration has enough deficit spending. We sure don't need someone to point out how to collect less taxes. Secondly, you're too honest. I need not tell you that you would not last long in Washington. Third, if you were no longer farm training instructor in St. Croix County, a lot more farmers would go broke. We bankrupted enough farmers the last 8 years anyway. Lastly, Nancy found out that you believe the rich should pay taxes just like other Americans. You just don't understand. Really, Al, I'm quite jealous. I sure wish I'd been able to quit working at a young age like you. However, as everyone knows, my acting career had a long gap in the middle years of my life. It took me a long time to learn how, but I've really been good at it lately. I understand you know how to feed horses. I like horses, not donkeys. Maybe you can tell me what to feed my horses. I sure don't need any help with the other end. Well, here comes the Secretary of Defense. He makes me practice every morning for 2 hours pushing buttons. Gully, one even says Moscow. I don't suppose you want me to push Moscow. I'm more scared of the one that says record. I don't want to end up like Nixon. Maybe you can do my tax return. I know the ones you do don't pay any taxes. I like that. came by way of Arlen Berkey. I think he intercepted that, but on the back of it, it says course outline for livestock nutrition. So I'm not sure that Ronald was the one that got that out, but I guess that's pretty good anyway. Well, I do want to thank all of you for being faithful to the farm training program and to me over the years. And all the work that I've done, all the years that I've worked, I've never had a bad time with anyone. No one's ever given me a bad time, been unkind to me in any way, either in the school or out on the farm. And everyone's been good in every way that they could. And I surely appreciate that. And I think I'm going to close with a little poem that I have that kind of sums up my feelings and Eleanor's feelings too. Now, you all met Eleanor tonight. I guess over the years, every one of you have talked to her. She's the one that's taken care of the telephone and stuffed the letters that have gone out. All that kind of stuff. A lot of you talked to her, probably never met her before. But this little poem, I think, kind of sums things up. It's called A Grateful Heart. Give me a grateful heart, Lord, for each small favor granted. As years unfold, may I behold, lie still through eyes enchanted. Let me find beauty in all things, nor be blind to see the goodness in my fellow man that he would find in me. Grant that my ears remain attuned to hear the smallest sigh, and may I lend a gentle touch to those less sure than I. Let me remember lessons learned and profit from the past, and may I build a bridge of dreams that shall forever last. Let me rejoice in simple things I need no wealth to buy, the scent of pine upon the wind, a burnished copper sky, scarlet roses on the fence, sunrise through the trees. Lord, grant that I may not outgrow affinity with these. Give me a grateful heart, Lord. Let me be satisfied when days are less than sunny and plans lie at low tide. For life's a sweet adventure that leads to who knows where, and love was made for sharing, and hearts were made to care. You've cared for me, and I care for all of you. And even though I'm leaving as far as the job is concerned, if there's any way that I can help any of you, or if you just want to call up and talk or something, I feel that you can do it. And I'll be glad to talk to you or do whatever I can for you. So I want to thank all of you, and especially Sam and Bud and Renee and Connie. I'm a kind of an excuse for a party. That they like to have a good party, and this is kind of an excuse for one. And especially them and their crew, and all of you people. Thanks a lot. Because I care so much, I think it's time to quit and have something to eat.
We're just about there. We've got a few announcements. If you didn't see, there's some pictures over there on the doors about Al from his time when he was a little kid till now. We'll be, as soon as I get done talking here, you'll get to eat. There'll be 2 lines. If you go away from here and you're not full, it's your own fault. And then we have a couple of door prizes here, and Al and Eleanor are gonna pick them out. So if your name doesn't get called, you know who to blame.
Val Peltier. Val? Val Peltier. She's still around? Well, I'll be here if you should find
son. Always be a good boy, no I work for the sun. But I shot a man in Reno, just to watch it die. Yeah, right there with the blow. I'm out here to cry. That railroad trail of mine, but I'm moving on a little farther down the line. Far from Fort Prison, that's where I long to stay. And I've left that old commercial, throw my blues away. And that fancy down a car, probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. Well, I know I had it coming. I know I can't be free. But that train keeps rolling, that's what tortures me. Well, I'm all over, you'll let me go.